Welcome, everybody. It is 6 p.m., and we not only have a quorum, but we have everybody here, so that's awesome. Happy Ash Wednesday. If you celebrated Fat Tuesday, good on you, and welcome. Hope you're feeling okay. So, without further ado, if you'll rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats. We get to have a little bit of fun here at the beginning with proclamations and presentations. And the first order of business is the introduction and swearing in of a new police officer and family. So if I can, Chief, turn it over to you, but I'll welcome Chief Eberhardt and Bill and Marley and Cora and Noah up front. It takes the whole family to do this.
Well, you took everything away.
Nope. Cora's almost 4, right?
He's almost 4.
And Noah is 8, but he
He's
did
almost
10.
9 in November.
Almost 9, okay.
Yeah.
Please, come forward.
Yes.
9, okay, we got it.
See, you get along with him great. He's almost 10 now.
Round it up. Which means he's close to 16.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I'd like to introduce, we've been talking about him for a couple of months now, is William Forehand, goes by Bill. He's at the academy now. I am going to refer to him as Officer Forehand, since technically he was an officer. He's just going through to renew his license. So, Bill, this is our council. Councilman Smith, Councilwoman Swint, excuse me, Mayor Erickson, Councilman Valdez, Councilman Arvidsson, Councilman Reyes, and you already know Nancy. This is Bill, his wife Marley, his daughter Cora, and his son Noah. We welcome him on board, and we look forward to when he graduates coming out here full-time in August.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Would you like to say anything?
Speech.
Oh, man, they got you now.
Welcome to Garden Ridge. Speech.
Pleasure to be here. I'm from the area, lived in and around the greater Randolph area my entire life. Garden Ridge, while I haven't lived in Garden Ridge, I've known where it is my whole life. Where I grew up, right on the edge of civilization, I-35 and Turplewine Road at that time was the edge of civilization. My mother used to love going to Garden Ridge Pottery. I'm like, no, that's way out there. But that's one of my earliest memories of Garden Ridge. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the opportunities and look forward to meeting all of y'all and getting to know y'all a little bit more over time.
We're excited to have you. Welcome the entire family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Pictures, yeah. Chief, you got to get in there. I'm hiding. All right. Welcome, Bill, Marley, Cora, who's almost 4, and Noah, who's nearly 9. It's great to have you here. So, next on the agenda and order of business is Nancy Kane, our illustrious city manager, and the general. This is her last Garden Ridge City Council meeting, if you can imagine that. We have a little presentation just to show it. We're going to be talking about Nancy for a little bit tonight. We're going to honor her with a party at First Friday. Everybody's invited on Friday night at Paul Davis Park from 5 to 7. We've got a live band. Nancy's going to talk about First Friday here in a little bit. And Cindy has set up a very nice St. Patrick's Day celebration theme for us and a celebration of Nancy Kane. And we can't believe that after nearly 1 month shy, no, 2 weeks shy of 23 years that, 1 month, okay, round up. 2 days shy of 23 years that she is retiring and leaving as our former city administrator, current city manager of the city of Garden Ridge, and 43 years in municipal government. So that's a long time as a public servant, which is amazing. Nancy, we're going to miss you, and I think we have a little presentation here, right? And then you get to come with me up front. A huge thanks to Cindy and Marissa and everybody that helped put that presentation together. They worked really, really hard on that. And if I may, Nancy, will you join me up front? And let's have the two mayors pro tem in the last 4 years up with us too. Lisa, if you'll take that, and Todd, if you'll come up with us as well. Okay. Don't stand behind the flowers. You can't see it yet. All right. We are honoring Nancy Kane, our city administrator, our city manager, and we are having a mayor's prerogative here with a proclamation, which went against the advisement of city staff. But we had including Nancy, we had a healthy discussion about it. We didn't involve city attorneys at all. We didn't even involve the city council. It was a mayor's prerogative, and we went ahead and did it. So we're going to have a little proclamation here with my glasses. A proclamation. Whereas our city manager, Nancy Kane, is retiring from her position after nearly 23 years at the helm of Garden Ridge and over 43 years of public service in municipal government. And whereas, going to say all the whereas, when Nancy was first hired by Mayor Jay Feibelman as our city administrator in 2002, our beautiful city was only 30 years old. We had a population of around 1,900 people and a city staff of 15, and we had an annual budget of only $300,000. Whereas since 2002, Nancy has trained 4 new mayors, supervised the building of this wondrous city hall, and hired every single current Garden Ridge employee with the exception of Steven Steinmetz by about 2 months. But she was on board before Dan was under contract as a police officer. Whereas Nancy has helped our city grow to a population of nearly 5,000 people with a city staff of 33 amazing employees and increased our annual budget to nearly $6 million. And whereas Friday, 21 March is Nancy's last official day as our general, culminating a brilliant and illustrious career in local government and setting the standard for what it means to be a city manager. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 21st, 2025 in the city of Garden Ridge as Nancy Kane Day. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and official seal of the city of Garden Ridge this 5th day of March 2025. Nancy Kane Day in about 2 weeks. Round of applause. Our first of a few presentations that'll go on through the next couple weeks. Lisa, as the Mayor Pro Tem for the last 3 years prior, has a special presentation. You can just flip it over and read it.
Flip it over. It says, Nancy Kane, City Manager, the dates of her service. So this
So-
will go in Paul Davis Park.
Yes, and that is Nancy's baby, right? The brick garden at the base of the flagpole, Paul Davis Park, was Nancy's complete idea back when we were planning our 50th anniversary as a city back in 2021, when she came up with that idea. So I don't think you were expecting the brick, right? No crying yet.
You actually signed a check for it, you just didn't know.
Marissa tells me that all the time as the mayor. And Todd, you know how to do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No. We want to talk about the big card that we have. Do you want to address that? We have a huge card. It's a BAC right over here. Some people got that. Right over here that Assistant Chief Dan is going to hold up. And we want as many people to sign that as possible over the next couple weeks. So it's here tonight. Please, everybody in the room before you leave, regardless of where we are in the meeting, go over and sign it, please. Dan, there's a pen over there, yes? Markers, Sharpies. And then it'll be at Paul Davis Park. And then we'll also present that to her on the 21st when we have a party for her off campus, if you will. So, Nancy, do you want to say a couple words? Your last city council meeting.
Yes.
Please. I'll just leave that there.
I can't believe it's my last city council meeting. I don't want to cry, but I will. In fact, today I've kind of felt like it was my last day. My last staff meeting with staff, department heads. It's been an honor to work for this city and to have worked for all the citizens in this city and for all the council and mayors that I've had over the years and all the staff. It's been an honor. Sorry, y'all. This has been my life here in Garden Ridge for 22 years. I'm still going to be around. I promise I'm going to try not to be a bad citizen. Thank you all so much for all the support over the years and all the help, all the caring, all the love. I love the city. And I love each and every one of y'all. Thank you all so much, and I'm gonna boo-hoo, so I better quit.
There you go. The pleasure is all ours. And we look forward to, you're not done. We got a week and a half, right? And you got 2 days, 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. I keep missing, I know, right? No. So, and we have, we'll talk about her replacement here in just a little bit. Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much. Great.
Thank y'all.
Pictures? Yes, we need pictures with the brick and the proclamation and the flowers in front of the dais. Like this? In front of the dais, right? In front of the podium, sorry.
All the council.
Can all the council come forward?
Yeah, that's great, perfect. Kelly, you're on council, come on.
Just a reminder.
You know what? Let's do all city staff that's here too. Everybody.
Yes, all cities.
Chief. All right. Sorry, Linda, that's my fault. Okay, now all city staff. Thanks, Sharon.
Won't you come up here, Melissa?
Ronnie,
You're short. What are you talking about?
you hold and I'll be behind you.
They can see me behind you, trust me.
Okay. Got it. Ready? One more. Two more. Come on. It's still. This is good for your cats. You can go. We'll get the tears now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
It's the coolest part of our job up here. So thank you, Nancy, thank you for all those years. And the celebration continues. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, citizen comment period. We have 2 people signed up. And remember, we are taking notes, but we can't comment on what you have to say. And we ask always that you address the entire council without singling out any of us, either in a positive or negative way. So the first person on the list, Sharon, come on up.
Well, with me having not looked at the agenda or knowing what was going on, my name is Sharon Stripling. I live at 21729 Forest Water Circle, and I did come tonight specifically to thank Nancy Kane, because I knew this would be her last meeting. I've lived here 35 years, and it seems like you've been here longer than 23, helping us out here in the city of Garden Ridge, and I really do appreciate it. I know I might not always agree with some decisions that have been made or understand, but I understand, you know, that's just the way it is, and that's part of the city government, and I appreciate what you've done for the city. And for me, personally, living as being a citizen of Garden Ridge. And one other person I want to single out and thank, because I'm not sure if I'll make the April meeting, is Mayor Rob Erickson. Because it's sort of my understanding from looking at who's running that Mayor Erickson's not running again for mayor. And once I started coming to city council meetings, he's always been here. And he always made me feel welcome, and he made me feel like I was heard. And I really do appreciate that. And I think all of y'all have done that, and that's a very important part of the city council. I want to thank the people on the city council. I even want to thank the city employees, because everybody is so friendly, and we're all in this together to make Garden Bridge the best place ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Tom? Always a pleasure to see you, sir. And the floor is yours.
Tom and Pat Klimas, 9610 Meadow Route, Garden Ridge. We moved in here in August of 1994. I have a subject that's new to me, perhaps not new to the council. We have a Labradoodle. His name is Puck. My wife and I like hockey. We also like theater. There's a Shakespeare character in A Midsummer Night's Dream named Puck. He can be troublesome, mischievous at times. Occasionally, Puck can do that to let us know that, hey, I'm here too. I walk him around Garden Ridge. Also take him to Paul Davis Park, Pickerel Park in Schertz, the Evans Park in Selma, Veterans Park in Universal City. I always bring reading material with me. And when I was over in Selma there at the stagecoach stop, I picked up a document. January, February 2025, the city of Selma. And I'm reading through it, and I says, geez, look at this. And I will read it. Senior water rate. Please remember that the city of Selma offers a senior water rate to any resident over 65 years of age. If you would like to receive the senior discount, please be sure to contact us after your 65th birthday so we can update your account. For more information, contact the city of Selma. So that's my food for thought for this evening. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Tom, very much. I think every single council member just wrote that down, so thank you very much. All right. That concludes everybody signed up for citizens' comments. We'll move on to the consent agenda, item number 5. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Council, does anybody have anything they want to pull from this month's consent agenda? If nobody has anything to pull, can we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Before we go to staff reports, we're going to move up an item in from Section 9 up to before the staff reports, 9A, 2025 Texas Legislative Session and Presentation from Idra Bush, Linebarger Attorneys at Law. So Idra, please come forward. Council, I asked Idra to come and give us this presentation based on her extensive knowledge and action within the Texas legislature as part of a partner at Linebarger. Many of you know her from our travels to Austin with Northeast Partnership and then seeing her all the time at Northeast Partnership, but not enough. You're not there every month. So, Idra, the floor is yours. Thanks for being here tonight and making the trip.
Thank you so much, Mayor. It's my pleasure.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you to all of you. First, congratulations, Nancy. I can't wait to see what you have in store for your next chapter. So good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Idra Bush, and as the mayor said, I'm a partner with Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to visit with you. I was so excited to have been given this opportunity as it allows me to reach back to my government affairs roots. While I don't currently practice legislative affairs on a daily basis anymore, during law school I actually had an opportunity to serve as a legislative aide for 2 years for a member of the Texas House, and then spent the first 7 years of my legal career as in-house counsel and registered lobbyist for the largest trade association in the state. So I thank you for this opportunity. One of the services that Linebarger provides to its clients is a full-service legislative affairs division that provides advocacy and bill monitoring during the legislative sessions and a complete legislative update and session recap during the interims. While the legislature is in session, we also provide an emailed weekly legislative update. So what you should have in front of you is just a hard copy of an example of what we provide. So that is the most recent copy of our weekly legislative update. And that's just for your information. It's got bill caps and everything. So the update that I'm going to provide for you this evening will focus predominantly on property taxes. That is my particular practice area. Additionally, please know that it is relatively early in terms of the legislative timeline. We are just now beginning to see bills being referred. Since there's been so much focus this session on property tax issues, on non-property tax issues such as school vouchers, public school funding, and teacher pay. So what you hear from me this evening may change, so just be aware of that. I'd like to highlight several broad categories from the larger ad valorem tax world, and then highlight a few non-property tax specific issues that are just so fundamentally important to municipalities that I can't not mention them to you while we're here together, even though they're outside of Linebarger's general practice area. So first, for those ad valorem subcategories that we're seeing, the first one that I wanted to bring to your attention is the Appraisal District Board of Directors. You may recall that last session there was a change to the code that required that members of the board of directors for the appraisal district would now become elected positions, and also the tax assessor collector would become a voting member of the board of directors. So we've now seen some legislation passed in reaction to what has happened in the interim since that bill was passed last session. As we might have predicted, the people who ran for and were elected to that the appraisal district boards of directors were largely anti-property tax, or were seeking the most immediate and drastic reductions to property tax. And so what we saw particularly in Tarrant County and to a lesser degree here in Bexar County was where the boards took swift and pretty aggressive action. In Tarrant, they even voted to limit reappraisal of properties to every 2 years. So of course, school districts were aggressively and vocally opposed to that. So whether or not this was the correct approach, I'm not here to give you that information. You can form your own opinions, or whether that was too radical. There does seem to be some consensus that there should be some general education and regulations placed upon those those directors that serve on the board of directors. So what has been proposed in the legislation is that once somebody is elected, so you don't have to have any sort of certification or education to run, but once you are elected, there would be some additional education and certification requirements placed upon the members of those boards of directors. We've also seen another category of bills filed to eliminate property taxes altogether. So there are several bills and JRs that would require the outright elimination of ad valorem taxation, or at a minimum call for a study during the interim of what effect a total property tax ban would be here in the state of Texas. Other bills call for just the elimination of business personal property taxes. One bill that was actually heard in committee earlier this week would provide for an increase in the exemption for business personal property tax used in the production of income. So that exemption would be raised from $2,500 to $250,000. And that's a bill that's already received a hearing in committee. So we know that that's a bill that's pretty further along the way than other bills are. So I would say to you, while we're unlikely to see an elimination of property taxes this session, that's quite unlikely. You may see something like a study to show what would the effects of something like that be here in Texas. And you are hearing about that in the news occurring in other parts of the country as well. Another issue that we're hearing a lot about, again, are appraisal caps. That's not new. We actually have a 10% appraisal cap here in Texas right now. But there have been numerous bills filed to actually lower that cap from 10% to maybe even down to 5%, or lower it for particular categories of property. So I would keep an eye on that. We know that it's one of the governor's emergency items is to provide some property tax relief. So we don't know what will happen there, but we know that there are a lot of bills that are proposing that. Additionally, something that would matter very much to Garden Ridge and to other municipalities in this particular area is that we've seen at least 3 bills filed to address the expansion in state aid, to address the loss in revenue due to the disabled veterans exemption, right? That's a very big issue for a lot of cities in this area. So like I said, we've seen 3 bills filed, 2 in the House, 1 in the Senate. 1 House bill and the Senate bill have been referred to committee already, so that's good. We're seeing some progress on that. And then those bills, what they would do is actually eliminate the requirement that a municipality abut the military installation in order to qualify for that state aid relief to offset the loss in revenue. To move to some just general municipal legislation subcategories, one bill that actually was reported favorably from committee today was SB 19, and that one actually places a limitation on a political subdivision's ability to advocate. So what it would do is, and there have been a couple bills that filed that would try to limit political subdivisions from compensating in-house or external lobbyists to advocate for them at the Capitol. So this would include even trade associations that political subdivisions might pay a membership fee to, and then they would hire lobbyists to then advocate for them. And I'm using the word lobbyists very specifically. So we're talking about people who engage in behavior that requires registration as a lobbyist. So if you are an elected official, if you are a full-time employee of a political subdivision and you're engaging in behavior that does not require you to register, you just are providing information, you're not advocating, then this would not apply. But to the extent that a municipality or political subdivision would hire a lobbyist that would be required to register, this bill would prohibit that. So like I said, SB 19 has already been voted favorably from committee, and that happened just today. ETJ limitations. This bill, SB 1509, was filed by Senator Betancourt. We know his name. We know that he's a pretty powerful senator here in Texas. This bill has just been filed so far, so we don't know that it's going to move. We hope that it doesn't. But there is at least one bill that he's filed which actually attempts to limit a municipality's ability to provide any sort of regulation or even services within its ETJ. And then the services that would be provided would have to be done on a contractual basis with the property owner only. So I don't know if that will move. I hope that it won't, but right now we know that it's been filed. Another bill has to do with hotel occupancy taxes. And the most interesting thing about this bill is that it would actually require the comptroller to collect hot taxes owed to a county or municipality. So the way that and then remit them to the city or to the county. So the way that that's done currently is that hotels collect from, you see it on your bill, right? It's got the county, the state, and the city occupancy taxes. Well, something happened during COVID where cities and counties stopped receiving their funds. And I don't know why hotels stopped paying those amounts to the local entities, but what they do is they submit their required report to the comptroller, and then they pay the state taxes, but they don't take that next step of submitting their funds to the counties and to the cities. And so what this bill would do is it would require the funds, all of them, to be paid to the comptroller. The comptroller would collect them and then remit them down to the cities and to the counties. And so we are really hopeful that that will pass. I think that would provide a lot of relief to our clients. So as I stated initially, it's still relatively early in the session, so anything can happen. For example, just yesterday, we saw, again, Senator Betancourt has filed SB 15, which would reduce lot size requirements and eliminate certain cities' ability to require plats with larger lot sizes. Now, for City of Garden Ridge, that doesn't affect you because there is bracketing language that would limit the applicability of that bill to cities that are 90,000 or larger. But that's the filed version. We don't know what can happen, right? It could be amended or who knows what. But my point to you is that that was just filed yesterday, and we're in March. So you just don't know what's going to happen during this session. So they still have to kind of pay attention. June 2nd is when they will adjourn sine die, which we can all breathe a sigh of relief, hopefully, unless there are a bunch of special sessions, which we've seen the past few cycles. But that's the date that we're all looking for. And really, that's all that I have for you at this point. I hope that we can visit a little bit later this summer to see what has actually happened. And then in the meantime, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Idra, thank you so much. We'd love to have you back this
Sure.
summer to give us, after the sign and die, what happened, right? The
Yeah,
play-by-play,
exactly.
the Monday morning quarterback type of thing. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any questions for Idra?
I do.
Okay, please.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, Idra and I went to high school together. Go Falcons, yeah. We're about 8 years apart. Just so we went to the same high school.
Same high
So,
school, we
yeah, I
sure
think
did.
if we put it all together, we'd probably know some of the same people.
I'm sure we do.
Right,
I'm sure we
right.
do.
So we visited earlier. Anything on Senate Bill 2038? Are they readdressing that?
Which one? Remind me
Senate Bill
the subject matter.
2038 was the terrible one where a property owner could be automatically released from their ETJ into the county.
I don't know. I can pull that up for you really quickly to see if that has moved at all, or if it's still just kind of in the lingering
I
waiting
mean, it was
for a hearing
passed, but there
stage.
was going to be, I think.
You
there
mean
was
from
an-
last session?
Yes, last session, but there
Oh.
was, I think, going to be an interim study.
I don't know. So remember, there was the big Death Star bill
Right,
and that
right.
legislation, and then
Right.
that one, I believe, was deemed,
Yeah,
kind of
that
declared
went to,
unconstitutional, but it was,
turned
that
into
one
a
was
lawsuit,
defeated.
yeah.
But for
Yeah.
that particular piece, I'm not sure. I'd have to
Okay.
look it up.
Okay.
What
We-
was the number of it?
2038.
We got an update sort of on that last week when we were up there with NEP. And what Terry Frank said was, Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, or Ryan, you were there with us in the back, that nothing has moved on that with the exception of a bill from Carrie Isaac regarding Comal County and a specific thing within Comal County. And she has filed that bill, but it's very specific to a certain property in Comal County. But as far as statewide, there hasn't been much movement or appetite for it, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah. That's been a
And I
tough one
remember,
for us.
now I remember that that bill was supposed to have been originally bracketed to just affect that sort of Comal County area. And they messed up on the bracketing language, and so now it affected everybody. But I don't think they've cleaned that up.
Okay.
When he said Comal County, Nancy and I were like, awesome. But it wasn't like specific to Garden Ridge and the entire county. It was very specific to a certain location.
Is this the
so-
Canyon Lake one?
Yep.
No, that's what they're trying
Exactly.
to give more authority
Yeah.
to the commissioners.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's a different one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this
Sorry.
is the one, no, it's okay. This is the one that, you know what I'm talking about, Nancy. The one that property owners could just petition to be released from an ETJ into a county, and it was kind of an automatic thing. They really didn't have to go through any kind of process, really. And so what we were finding is that some of our, in particular, some of our industrial operations, wanted out of those ETJs into the county because of less regulatory authority.
Sure.
And it was causing all kinds of problems as well in housing developments and in the housing development world too, where there were some issues.
I
Yeah.
will say, I have not heard, so
Okay.
I don't want to speak out
Okay.
of turn, but just kind of paying attention to the legislature and kind of seeing where their tone seems to be, I would imagine that they probably would not undo something like that.
Right, right. The other question I had was on Senate Bill 19, which is the limiting the political subdivisions from lobbying. Is this the same bill from last session that TML was really concerned about? Okay.
Absolutely, it is.
And it didn't pass last session, but it's being more favorably looked at this session?
It's at least moving.
Right.
So I don't know what will happen, but it's the same thing.
The same
It's
thing.
the very
Okay.
same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a bill that also, this particular one, the SB 19 deals with political subdivisions. There's another one that specifies school districts. That one is only filed, so I don't know what will happen with
Okay.
either one of those, but I know that political subdivisions one is
Same, yeah.
moving, which
Okay.
I just don't understand how that is not a First Amendment violation, but,
Right, right. And you know what, actually, we did talk, when we visited Carrie Isaac, we did talk about this bill, and her argument was, well, why don't you just talk to me about it? Why don't you just directly ask me about it? You know, instead of working through, you know, TML. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way, you know?
and the language doesn't just limit it to TML. I mean, it
Right.
specifically says political subdivisions themselves and organizations like TML.
Interesting. Yeah, same one. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Those are great questions, great input, Lisa. Anybody else? Thank you so much, Idra.
You're, of course,
Drive
very
safely,
welcome.
please.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's great to see
Okay,
you.
Y'all have a good evening.
See you at lunch next week?
I'll be there.
Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. As a quick, just some information on the bill regarding, some information about the bill with disabled veterans, homestead exemption, 100% disabled veterans for the city of Garden Ridge. And this was from Robin from last December to me, asking a question. We have in 2024 certified totals, 2,066 overall properties. Of those, 298 properties are disabled veteran homestead exemption, 100% disabled veterans totaling about $200 million or so. 22 properties are disabled veteran, 100% disabled veteran surviving spouse, totaling about $14 million in tax amount as far as how much they're worth, assessed value, and then 4 new properties were added with 100% disabled veteran exemption in 2024. The total is about $244 million worth of assessed tax value, and if you divide it by 100 times by 0.25, our tax rate, you get about $600,000 in lost ad valorem taxes for the city of Garden Ridge. So that's a factor for us. We think that that way to honor our disabled veterans is amazing, and nobody is arguing at the state level around us or at the state level to take that away from our disabled veterans. Their argument is, hey, right now, only cities that abut, like Idris said, a military establishment are eligible to receive compensation from the state with that. Our argument from the Northeast Partnership, and this was our #1 priority, legislative priority going forward with them, with our legislators, is that, hey, it should be not just if you abut a military establishment, but a certain percentage of how many disabled veterans you have, and get compensation for that. Obviously, in the city of San Antonio and the greater San Antonio area, lots of cities abut Fort Sam, Randolph, Lackland, but you know, we're right under the flight pattern, and we're only 7 miles as the crow flies from the front gate. So we should get some compensation too. That's our argument, and it's being met pretty well. So, as Idra said, just some good information out there. Thanks again, Idra. And you under no obligation to hang out for the rest of the council meeting. Thanks. All right, we'll go back to item number 6 and staff reports to the general 6A. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Okay. Tonight, we have one resident, the Stapps, that want to convey their gratitude to several employees. One of them is Michelle for informing them that they had a water leak. Ruben and Mark showed up from the water department and assisted with locating the leak and helping do a slight repair on it to stop pretty big leak of 150 gallons an hour. The Stapps go on to say these employees were fueled by passion in providing the best service possible and driven by the purpose to help an elderly couple. We are so proud to say we live in Garden Ridge, where the city takes care of its people. Thank you and the others for your caring and helpful attention. Very nice note. we have 3 employee anniversaries for March. Sergeant McKenzie, 5 years. Sergeant Timke, 8 years. And Eric Lohman, Public Facilities Foreman, 18 years. Congratulations. Okay, volunteer hours for the month of February. 7.75 hours from the ladies who help stuff water bills. The Garden Ridge Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association put in 70.50 hours. The library had 123 hours for a total of 201.25 volunteer hours. The other things that I want to announce is, of course, Mayor mentioned First Friday is this coming Friday, March the 2nd, 5 p.m., Paul Davis Park. I think the Scouts are doing burgers and hot dogs. Is that correct, Cindy? And St. Patrick's theme. And then our last First Friday is, at this point, is April the 4th at 5:30 p.m. And then also, I know in the past the city has wanted to be a scenic city. So Cindy has taken on the daunting task of completing the Scenic City application. We paid our fees. And so we're just waiting to see if we're going to be acknowledged as a scenic city. Thank you, Cindy. And that's all I had tonight, Mayor, unless there's questions for me.
Thank you, Nancy. We're honoring Eric Lohman as one of our employees. It's also his birthday today. So, Stephen, I'm sure you know that, but when you go home tonight, make sure you text him, hey, happy birthday. All right, any questions, council, for the general? For the last time, Ryan's back there going, why is she the general? What am I missing? You'll get your turn, Ryan. You get your turn. Private Ryan. It's a movie, right?
You like that?
Yeah. That just stuck, dude. All right, sorry. On to item number 6B. We're getting giddy up here. Finance and HR. Robin, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We currently have 3 available positions that we're looking for applicants for. We had a resignation letter from our utility clerk, Sandra. Her last day is going to be on March 11th, and so we are accepting applications for our utility clerk position. We have 1 utility operator position still vacant and 1 police officer position still vacant. So those are the 3 positions in the city that we're looking for candidates. And then still currently working on the budget amendment, and we'll have that for the April council meeting. And that's all I have.
Outstanding. Council, anything for Robin? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to City Secretary. Marissa, floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight a couple things on my report. The first one is that city offices will be closing at 10:30 a.m. on Friday, March 21st for our council and employee retirement party for Nancy. And
It's also Nancy Kane Day.
It is Nancy Kane Day. It just happens that we're closing early that day as well. Also, I want to remind everyone of the upcoming election. The filing period has closed. I'm just waiting to get a sample ballot from Comal County Elections Office. So once I receive that, that will be posted on the website. They have let us know about the early voting hours. And so early voting will be conducted here at City Hall beginning on April 22nd. And April 22nd through April 25th will be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And April 28th through April 29th will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They are not doing any weekend voting or early voting this year. But Election Day is obviously on Saturday, May 3rd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can visit the city's website for all of the election information. And then the other thing I just wanted to update council on was that we are still on track with the microphone refresh of the system in here, and they are scheduled to be here tomorrow. So hoping everything goes smoothly and we're able to get that done quickly and we don't have to play past the microphone for too much longer. That's all I have.
Thank you, Marissa. Anything for, yes, Lisa, go.
Is it just since we did this Microsoft conversion thing, has anybody else had trouble with their email? Sometimes it just doesn't load for me. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that wasn't a, yeah,
So it could be slower.
yeah, okay. I get lots of error message and I'm just refreshing. Okay.
It's definitely not just you. I know that a lot of us have had weird little things happening with our emails ever since then.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Council, anybody else for Marissa? Outstanding. Thanks, Marissa. Moving on to D, the chief. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything's in the report. I would like to highlight all of our outreach efforts. We've got a lot of things going on. We're on the downhill slide on our Citizens Police Academy. So last Saturday, beautiful weather. We were all out on the range with them out there, and as Dan says, they all left with the same number of holes as they went with. So that was a successful day. We had a good day. It was a lot of fun. We've also have our Pizza with the Police coming up April 3rd. So that's Thursday, April 3rd here in the council chambers. We have booked our date for our pancake breakfast for our Children's Advocacy Center fundraiser for the Police and Fire Pancake Breakfast, which is June 21st. So we'll be at Paul Davis Park. So we'll have all the pancakes, sausage, mimosa bar, all that good stuff going. Come out there, bring your donations out there for the Children's Advocacy Center, because we give 100% of everything to them for what they do for our children out here in our community. So that's the things I wanted to highlight. I don't have anything else, sir.
Thank you so much, Chief. And great job to both you and Assistant Chief Dan for the great recruiting job that you guys continue to do and bringing in quality officers for the city of Gardner Ridge. So it's outstanding and needs to be commended.
And we're still taking in applications. We're filtering through them. I had another one today. One other thing, now that you mentioned recruiting and all, we did have our recruiting drive for the Citizens Police alumni where we were bringing in corporate memberships. We wrote our bylaws to allow 12 corporate memberships, and we would cut it off at 12. This is our first year. We got 9, so we've got 9 that came in. So we closed that down for the year so we can start getting the banners and the plaques ready and all that sort of thing. But we do have 9 businesses now that have become corporate members of our Gardner Ridge Citizens Police Academy alumni. So that's going very well.
Outstanding work. Thanks, Chief. Council, anything for, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I did want to commend our Officer McKenzie and the other officers that were out on range day. It was run so professionally, so safely. He was very patient with me as he taught me how to shoot a gun. But it was just so well run, and I know that all of the attendees of the class really enjoyed it. But I was really impressed with just how tight that whole program is.
Thank you. Yeah, because we put one officer to coach
Yep.
every single shooter on the line.
Yep.
So
It's really, that part's really cool, right? I felt really safe and I think I learned a
Did
little.
you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I'm just not good at it. You know, I'm just not.
But did you have fun?
Yeah, I
Great.
did.
Good.
I did.
Outstanding. Good for you. Is that your first time?
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah,
we had a couple first-time shooters out there.
yeah.
Couple first rodeos out
And
there.
a couple really sharpshooters out there too. Some really good.
Good. That's awesome. Thanks, Chief. Anybody else for the chief? Okay, moving on to Public Works. Mr. Steven Steinmetz, who's been here longer than Nancy Kane. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For February 2025, the Public Works Department completed 368 work orders, removed 150 pounds of trash from the right-of-ways, recorded 0.53 inches of rain at the Public Works shop, repaired several street potholes, did some maintenance on the rental buildings on Schoenthal, attended a lot of continuing education, Ryan took a resilience overview for water. Eric took a landscape maintenance pesticide class and passed it, so now he's kind of everybody's umbrellaed under him for if we want to do any pesticides or weed killers and stuff like that. Again, the dumpsters are back in March 8th and 9th, and 15th and 16th. We hosted an Armadillo water meeting at the community center for the area people that hold water license. Andrew and Ruben attended a Public Works equipment rodeo in College Station. I have a couple pictures up there of them. Ruben placed 13th out of 130 contestants within Texas. So for first time ever doing that and competing on that is very good. It shows the quality of operators we have are pretty good, and Andrew did not too much farther behind than that. So the top person did their task in 40 seconds. Ruben did it in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that's a big thing for him. Let's see. Currently, we have one dog ready for adoption. We had one dog transferred to a no-kill facility. And that's all I really have for Public Works.
Stephen, I got to ask, what was the event that Ruben competed in? What did he have to do in 1 minute and 30 seconds?
We had to get on he had to move, she had a 2x6, and there was this 5-gallon bucket on top of this 2x6 that's supported by 2 barrels and it's filled with sand. Supposed to take the claws of the backhoe and move it across that board the fastest, and it was like a 20-foot board, I believe. And then they had another one where it's a mini excavator where they have a little plastic spoon taped to one of the teeth, and you're supposed to grab an egg out of a sand bucket. I don't recall what they placed on that one, but the big backhoe was the main event.
It sounds like a First Friday event to practice for next year. Yeah, that's the First Friday challenge. Cindy, take notes on that, right? We just figured out what to do in April. All right.
It's like the first time we ever.
That's right. We're good.
The first time we've ever sent anybody to a competition. Figured it'd be a good morale building thing.
And it was?
Mm-hmm.
And literally their first rodeo?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we look forward to next year and April's First Friday. Love it. Council, anything regarding Public Works? Yes, ma'am.
Kelly whispered a suggestion to me, and I'd like to second his suggestion that Ryan could adopt the dog. We haven't let him know that when you're on city council or at the city, that you get to adopt a dog. It's a privilege.
Does Jacqueline have anything to say about that? No?
Literally just saying that to be true.
We actually wrote that into the contract. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah?
It's good time.
You can go ahead and name it later on. I love it.
Yeah, we'll waive the fees. I
Yeah,
think we can do
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Stephen regarding Public Works before we get into utilities? All right, Stephen, you're still up.
For February, we pumped 13.76 acre feet out of the Edwards with a year-to-date total of 23.58 acre feet with 587.46 acre feet available. Edwards is still in stage 4. We're currently in stage 2 due to our alternative water source, the Trinity. Out of the Trinity, we pumped 27.55 acre feet with a year-to-date total of 65.14. All water quality samples passed for the month. Our water loss was 1%. And completed 279 work orders for the water department, 73 locates, 1 irrigation permit issued. AMI information, total portal customers was 891, up 13 from January. Meter daily readability percentages was 99.63% from 1,641 assigned meters. No breaks or leaks reported. 1 leak adjustment denied. Mark Schick from the Water Department received his Class C groundwater license. And again, Ruben and Andrew went to the Texas Public Works Equipment Rodeo. That's all I have for water.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, if you ever wonder how busy Public Works is, and especially our utilities, just look at all of those locations they had to do, and then the work orders. That's in 1 month. That's pretty impressive. And oh, by the way, 1% on our unaccounted water, which is very low. Thank you so much. Council, any questions or comments for Stephen regarding utilities?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just milestone here, 12 months of below 5% and accountable unsold water. That's a record. So I've been praising you every month, so continue that. That's great work. Also, I mean, we're at what, 52% of our water customers are signed on to the portal. Industry standard is about 20%, so we're way above that. You know, there's 13 that signed up this past month, so that's great. You know, that really helps in reducing our water losses and everything else. You know, so good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Anybody else? Thanks, Stephen. Great work. On to 6F. Linda Croslin, our librarian.
We're playing pass the microphone.
Pass the microphone. We do it every month.
Yes,
You're
we
on,
do.
ma'am.
Well, good evening. March means happy birthday to Dr. Seuss and to Texas. For some reason, we always remember when Texas became an independent country, not 9 years later when it became a state. Something about us Texans. Okay, last month we launched the Seed Library. It's the time of year now when people are starting to do their planting, and there's a picture of us launching. Okay. On the left, Craig Brusca is with the Native Plant Society, and he's got this big notebook. And people have already checked out some seeds, and they are just for shrubs and flowers, not for vegetables. That was asked earlier today. The native plants are hardy. They do better in this climate, especially now that we're looking at drought conditions. Another on the right, that's a picture. We're just kind of proud of the outreach we've been able to have with homeschool groups. There's 8 to 10 families who bring their children, usually Wednesday morning for Lego Robotics and Thursday morning for science. That's the one I think I told you about when they were making a walk through the heart. They learned to say right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. And I told you the little girl who was standing in the left vegetable. I thought she was adorable. But that was just one activity. They also learned about the senses, the eye, the skeletal system, not all at one time, the skin, and tomorrow we're talking about the respiratory system. We're going to make a little model lung, show you how the lung works. Now, I tell you about our activities because we're more than just books. I feel like the library is just kind of the heart of the community. That's my job. That would be my joy to have it be that way. It's not just for children. You saw some children's activities, but we just have adult activities as well. So tomorrow, if you want to come and color with us, it's adult coloring tomorrow. On March 21st, the city will be closing at 10:30, but we won't close until 2 o'clock. I have 2 wonderful volunteers who are going to keep the store open while Wendy and I go celebrate Nancy King Day. So happy birthday, Dr. Seuss, and happy birthday, the Republic of Texas.
Thank you so much. Council, anything for Linda? All right. We'll move on to item number 7, city engineer project status and reports. Hank Crippen, our illustrious city engineer, the floor is yours, sir. Busy month.
It was a busy month. Good evening. I'll start off with FM 2252. I drove by right before coming over here. It did look like that CenterPoint is wrapped up. They did say it was going to take until this Friday, so they may still have to rip out the existing line before they get out of our way, but really hopeful they'll be gone by this week, and I'll get that confirmed. They could be done already. The next step for that is going to be the pole bracing from CPS. They found that their permit was expired this past month, so we're working through getting their permit reinstated. It's the next step, and this is the last piece. I love coming up here every month and saying the same thing, but yeah. Contractor is waiting until that is in place until he can dedicate a team, a crew, but we're working with CPS to get that done. The emergency interconnect, we had Councilmember Valdez, Nancy, and Mr. Steinmetz that attended a meeting last week. It was held at 4 p.m., so we got to experience the wonderful San Antonio traffic on our way into the SAWS headquarters. But the meeting went well, and feel free to jump in if you'd like. You know, they're open to an emergency connection at this point. They have not made any promises yet. We gave them our expected flow for emergency scenario. And they're modeling that right now to make sure that it can work with the line that they want us to tie into. They were not open to us tying directly into Vista Ridge. They are looking at the 16-inch line, which I call the Davenport line. It's the one that terminates at Davenport. That line does have plans, developer-driven plans to be looped, which is great for more serviceability from that line. There are some standard agreements that are, I believe, on consent agenda for the next board meeting with SAWS, so it's looking really hopeful. Again, nothing promised yet, but the meeting went great. We received a draft agreement from them and a proposed rates schedule, and so we're reviewing that, and we should have something for you once we get to review it a little longer. Before I move on, I would like to open the floor for questions on that interconnect.
I want to add that we did ask them about a third source of water, wholesale. And, you know, that's in there, but it's going to be a while. It'll be much later. They're not willing to do anything at this point. But much later, there's some permitting requirements and things like that. So they were at least interested or at least willing to talk about it for future. So, but anyway, so we'll have that maybe in 3 or 4 years or something, but down the road.
That one would be developer-driven before it would be an option. Yeah, so we're kind of at the win. That's correct.
I did want to just mention as an aside, talking about water, that I did learn that the quarry has 1,400 acre-feet of water of drain. Yep. Edwards, yes. Edwards, yes. It's all Edwards, 1,400 acre-feet. No. Which is almost 3 times what we permitted for.
I had a few other items. The Revival did submit a package on February 20th. I did just receive some more items for completeness of that package today, and I've not dove fully into them, but I'm about 60% through before passing it on to staff for comments as well. So they are resubmitting and moving forward with that. We're also still working through the off-site sewer, which they're all kind of tied together. And that's really all I had. I'll probably remove the CenterPoint capacity improvement project until they resubmit. I don't need to put it on the report until we see something from them.
Thanks, Hank. Council, anything further for Hank? Appreciate all your work with the emergency water plan. And so everybody understands, council knows this, but make sure everybody out there understands that's huge for the city of Gardner Ridge to secure a third source of water other than the Edwards and the Trinity. The Vista Ridge water coming in from around the Bastrop area, connected into the Davenport portion of that would be great to ensure emergency water for the city of Gardner Ridge. And then later, perhaps wholesale, that's a good thing for the long-term 50-plus year vision for Gardner Ridge. So thanks for, council, thanks for approving that, and then thanks for everybody's hard work on that. Be a pit bull on that one, Hank, Jesse, and Nancy.
Thank you.
And Ryan. Ryan's like, what have I done? All right, Thank you. On to item number 8, City Commission and Committee Reports, Recommendation, Possible Actions. 8A is Planning and Zoning. Planning and Zoning Commission didn't meet in January, so there's nothing to report tonight. 8B is the Water Commission. They did meet in February, and so Bill Pohl, come on up. Thanks again for being the chair of our Water Commission. It's great to see you, and the floor is yours, sir.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor, Council. There were no recommendations from our meeting to City Council. The major items that were covered primarily was the Commission continued its discussions regarding the revision of Ordinance 61, the Drought Management Plan, and Ordinance 159, Landscape and Irrigation System Requirements. There was, after a lot of discussion, there was a consensus to draft for review changes to both 61 and 159, providing for a clearly defined city-approved application and variance process specifically designed for watering new landscaping. And this is something that has been talked off and on again in regard to the different variances that I've been involved in. The key points of the program would look like this. It would be active from late fall through early spring for drought stages 1 through 3. It would allow for 3 to 4 weeks of daily irrigation system use or sprinkler use at the currently set times for establishing new plants and turf grass. The use would be charged at current rates and tiers, and the goal would be for the resident application and the city approval process to happen in less than a week. So it becomes more of an administrative prescribed process. The current variance process would remain in place for all the other types of requests. And also, if this particular special variance would be disapproved, then there is an avenue for the resident to apply for a variance with the commission. Other changes being considered are pool permits and filling with city water would be allowed from stages 1 through 3. There'd be additions of definitions and requirements, as well as streamlining of wording for 61 and 159. And really what's been driving this is the information for this idea has been gathering for some time by reviewing similar programs at both SAWS and New Braunfels. Some of these programs have been operative with these cities for some time, and I've met, for example, I met with the conservation manager at NBU, and they have a 7-person team for this, so they really have a lot of expertise and a lot of knowledge. They've also said that they would do some things differently if they had the chance to rewrite it. For example, restricting it during the times when plants should be planted, spring, fall through spring. SAWS, for example, has requirements that if you renew your turf, you have to put in a certain amount of underlying topsoil. That allows, when the turf is established, it'll actually survive a drought. So in addition to the drafting that's going on, a spreadsheet's being developed to estimate what would be the incremental water use if something like this was done for 20 or 30 people, say during the fall to spring period. And we'll be massaging those numbers. The goal is to review the first draft with the city within the next couple of weeks and at the next commission meeting, and also with Garden Ridge gardening experts to run this by them to see would this meet the requirements for establishing new plants. We'll continue to work toward finalizing this and eventually recommending it to City Council. The other major item that was discussed is the city brought up the idea of an educational water conservation and stormwater fair and how and when that might be held. It's an excellent idea to promote more use of the portal, to make people familiar with what their backflow preventer is, what their pressure reduction valve is, because these are things that impact leaks and also can impact the performance of the plumbing in the house. So productive meeting, that's it. Questions?
Thank you, Bill. Jesse?
Bill, I need to get with you later because we need to talk about ordinance 159.
Yeah.
When we were in the process, when planning and zoning was in the process of revising ordinance 13, there's some things from 159 that were put in that one, and we need to do the same thing with ordinance 54, but we haven't updated ordinance 54 to get some of the things moved out of 159 to 150 to 54, and then eliminate 159. So
Okay.
I'll get with you on those details.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jesse. Council, anything else for Bill Pohl? Thank you, Bill. I do want to publicly thank Todd Arvidsson as the mayor pro tem for that attending on short notice the Water Commission meeting in February. I had some electrical issues at home that I can't fix, and I hired someone to do it, and it took a while. So Todd, thanks for being there for us. All right. Great. That completes item number 8. Moving on to restarting item number 9. We've already done 9A with our legislative update. 9B is interlocal agreement between Region 8 Education Service Center and the City of Garden Ridge to provide cooperative purchasing services through a program known as the Interlocal Purchasing System, otherwise known as TIPS. Nancy, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. This TIPS is a procurement program. It's similar to Buy Board, a program that the city can buy products or services through where we don't have to go through the bidding process. What brought TIPS forward is in the bids that we're receiving and the contractors we're talking with for the community center audio-video upgrades, those vendors are part of the TIPS program. So that's why we are asking council to consider allowing us to participate in this interlocal agreement so we can have another procurement program. I also found out later too that they do a lot with water improvements, or contractors, supplies, things of that. So I think this interlocal cooperative purchasing program will be a benefit to Garden Ridge.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're
Council,
welcome.
discussion regarding TIPS. I thought not.
I think it's a great,
Sounds like
idea.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great idea, actually. So if
saves
it's,
time, you know, and everything.
if it's the no-brainer, then can I get a motion, and we probably just need to say, move to approve interlocal agreement between Region 8 Education Service Center and the City of Garden Ridge. Can I get a motion to approve? Todd?
I'll get it. Move to approve the interlocal agreement between Region 8 Education Service Center and the City of Garden Ridge to provide cooperative purchasing services through a program known as the Interlocal Purchasing System, or TIPS.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Nancy. Passes unanimously. On to item number 9C, City of Garden Ridge City Manager Contract. Ryan Rapley, come on forward. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. So, City of Garden Ridge, you know how to hit the mic on. That's your first lesson. There you go. Nice job. You passed. That was the last. That was the last thing.
Not my first rodeo.
So, City of Garden Ridge, may I present to you Mr. Ryan Rapley, who should shortly be approved by council as our new city manager, effective 19 March with 2 days overlap-ish with Nancy Kane before crash course before you're fully at the helm. He is the current city manager of Castle Hills. We welcome him here. And sir, before council acts, any last words, any comments?
No, thank you, Mayor, Council, for the opportunity. Thank you, Nancy. It was a tough decision, but I feel it's a great opportunity. It's been 7 years in Castle Hills, and I'm leaving in a very good spot in Castle Hills. We've almost fixed all the roads, put all the plans in motion. I think I was the 5th city manager in 6 years, now the longest serving city manager in 25 years. So I felt like I made a great impact there. I had to let my council and mayor and staff know. Some staff didn't talk to me for a few days. If that's indicative of what they think of me, I'm actually glad from that standpoint. My council was very please don't go. I've had residents say, please don't go, but in my career, it's time for a new opportunity, and I think Garden Ridge is a great spot, great opportunity, and next for me in my career. And just for publicly my background, I grew up in Universal City and went to Judson and undergraduate at Southwest Texas, now Texas State. I got my master's in public administration from Texas Tech University. I worked for the City of College Station, City of San Antonio, City of Del Rio, City of Brenham, and now City of Castle Hills, and of course now City of Garden Ridge, hopefully with your hands being raised at this time. Like I said, Mayor and Council, I appreciate the time and welcoming me. I look forward to working with Team Garden Ridge moving forward. I had a team concept in Castle Hills. I was able to hire majority of the staff there. We had a great culture in place. So I'm hoping that, that culture can continue here from that standpoint. I'm always available if council needs me, mayor, that kind of thing. So I look forward to, getting back to some of the projects I used to work on when I was assistant city manager in Del Rio and Brenham, some economic development projects, land growth, planning, those kind of things. So those are some of the things I used to work on. But personally, I have a 13-year-old daughter who I tried to get here, but she's currently on Hero Stadium track running the 4x100, 4x200, and the 200-meter dash. And she just won the district again in tennis for NISD. So I'm very blessed to have her academically and athletically. I tried to say, come look at Davenport, and she's insisted that she's going to MacArthur High School.
We can help with that.
Nothing I
Go
can,
Wolves.
nothing I could do there. I'm also blessed on the other side. I brought my significant other, Jacqueline. And you're probably saying the same thing my daughter said was, did you lose a bet? But definitely above par, for me in that standpoint. But I'm open to questions, Mayor and Council, anything you might have. Like I said, having a lot of familiarity and growing up in the Universal City, Schertz, Cibolo area, Selma, I've seen over the last 45 years and growing up, almost 50 years, just the growth, the challenges, and I started out going to council meetings when I was like 12, 13 years old. My dad was a council member in Universal City and mayor pro tem and a firefighter. So I guess public service was, put upon me early. And so I thought the city manager route would be a great thing to do. I thought I wanted to be an attorney, but I said, you know what, let's try the city manager. And 25 years later, it's been great. So I appreciate it. I hope to follow Nancy's footsteps. Not 22 years. So I'm hoping in 22 years, I'm hopefully doing something else, because my ultimate goal is to, 10 years from now maybe, is to teach and coach high school soccer while I can still move considerably. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Outstanding. Just so everybody knows, we started this process before we got to know Ryan personally back last summer with our discussions of how do we replace Nancy King, because we've never done something like this before. So how that process works, we eventually talked to different firms and hired SGR, and then we hit the ground running in September by redoing and updating our city manager job description, a huge pamphlet on why you want to come to Garden Ridge, and then the ad went live in October. It closed out on the 10th of November. We had originally 39 applicants, literally from across the country and the world. There was one person from Africa that had originally applied as well. Council worked extremely hard on narrowing down that field to eventually 12, then about 5 to 4, and then the final 2. And Ryan was our unanimous selection back in February at an all-day special session that we had, which was extremely important. We want to thank the city of Castle Hills for allowing you to come and join us. I know that they miss you. We've had some great discussions on how you let them know, and I thought you were full of integrity and very professional and personal in the way you let everybody know in Castle Hills. And of course, they're going to miss you. And we thank the city of Castle Hills for Ryan, and we can't wait to have you with us.
Well, I appreciate it, and it was a difficult decision because, you know, I had a very good relationship with my mayor and council, the residents who I've come to know for many years, and to get emails from them and calls to say, please don't go, or thank you for sticking it out when we had some tumultuous and challenging times, to see some things through because of the state of the organization, the state of the governance system at the time. So, you know, I felt it was right personally and professionally to make sure that, you know, things were seen through there. There's a lot of good people, a lot of good staff there, and so I wanted to make sure that, you know, I closed the loop appropriately there. But I feel 100% in a state of leaving there that things are in a great spot. And a lot of city managers don't get to leave with feeling like they've accomplished a lot. And I could tell you from not only external challenges and completing those from infrastructure, but just internal, because there were some things that was lacking in the city. And now with myself, the council, and the staff, I call it we, it's not I, that did all that during that time. It's a lot better place. So, thank you.
Thank you. Council, before we take any action, anybody have comments, concerns? I'm joking, obviously.
I just wanted to mention that throughout the process, and I couldn't mention this to you throughout the process, but I had a bunch of unsolicited texts and calls from some people, and I know Lisa did too, and highly recommending you and asking if you had applied for the position. I couldn't tell them. I couldn't tell them, but
I didn't compensate them, so.
Yeah, I know. So either you paid them out, you know, either they made a lot of money or they're just really good friends and they know they saw your talent. So
thank you.
Excited to have you.
Lise?
Just thrilled to have you here. Enjoyed our conversation and look forward to getting to work on stuff.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Jesse?
Thanks, sir.
Todd?
Thank you.
Brian?
No, I just want to say, yeah, I just want to say, Ryan, like Kelly and Lisa and everybody says, you were unanimous, and we welcome you to the city. Look forward to working with you in the future, and thank you for you know, accepting the offer. We really appreciate that. So
thank you. I appreciate it, and if you all need anything, I'm always available. Residents, I try to have a standard of response and still, you know, a real customer service and responsive to the citizens and residents, because essentially we work for them. Thank you.
Wonderful. And the theme of the day when we traveled up to Austin last week with the Northeast Partnership mayors and guests was, as an aside, bringing me or Nancy up to the side saying, hey, Rob, great hire. Way to go. And if you have to replace Nancy because she's retiring, he's the right guy to do it. So
I appreciate that. I've tried to sustain relationships through the Texas City Managers Association. I'm very active involved, and just recently, last year, was a region president. So I try to stay, you know, integrated with area city managers, because again, you're always trying to find out who's doing something better, and all you do is just try to best practices or emulate those for your city. So, thank you.
it's wonderful. Don't leave yet, because I want to get a picture at the end with all of us.
Appreciate it.
So, council, the way we need to do this, without any, unless there's further discussion, we would need a motion for city council to appoint Ryan Rapley as our city manager effective 19 March 2025 and authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement. Who wants to just read my chicken scratch? Right here. Sorry.
A little tiny.
It is, sorry.
I make a motion for the city council to appoint Ryan Rapley as our new city manager effective March 19, 2025, and authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement.
Good job.
Hard to read.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
Second the motion.
But thank you
We
for
have a
the-
motion and a second. Any
Yes.
further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. A round of applause.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
I
Brian, I'd
appreciate
like to
your
get a
support. Thank
picture
you.
of council and you and Nancy in front of the podium.
Sure.
Ryan, right here. All right, congratulations again. And it's called outkicking your coverage. I did the same thing. All right. That's great to have that. We're moving on. That's great. Great to have that done. All right. On to item number 9D, discussion and consideration on citizen-filed ethics complaint against a council member. I will introduce this, and I have a prepared statement. Council, you have all been given a copy of the formal written complaint from two Garden Ridge residents concerning alleged ethics violations on behalf of one of our own. You have also been given a copy of my letter sent to you by Nancy via email addressing how we processed the complaint. I will read an excerpt from that letter for public record. On Friday, 21 February, the city manager and I met with council member / Mayor Pro Tem Todd Arvidsson and our legal counsel Charlie Zeck and Natalie Tham to discuss the complaint procedures and process and determine the best way forward for the city of Garden Ridge in line with the ordinance. After a lengthy and productive discussion involving many options, it was determined the best path forward to handle the complaint in line with the spirit, intention, and language of the ordinance would be the following. The council member would be briefed on the complaint in person with the city manager and our legal counsel, Natalie Tham. A notice to council would be sent out after the council member was briefed. The complaint would be addressed in open session during our March regular city council meeting. The letter ended with the following. Pending final decision from the council, it is my opinion that no further city resources need to be spent investigating the complaint as allowed by Ordinance 232-04-2022, Code of Ethics and Ethical Conduct Rules, paragraphs 6.22 and 6.23. I would further recommend that City Council use this discussion of the complaint as a transition into updating Ordinance 232 to better accommodate the city's home rule status and to account for procedures and process that could be improved based on the processing of this complaint. Very respectfully, Rob. Councilmember Arvidsson was present at the meeting due to the Mayor Pro Tem's ability to also investigate alleged ethics violations against a council member in accordance with Section 6.23 of Ordinance 232. In the complaint, there were 10 specific ethics violation accusations alleged listed in the complaint. You have all read the document, so I will not list them all here. Rather, the accusations can be summed up in 3 categories: decorum, the Texas Open Meetings Act, as we call TOMA, and process. Let's cover process first. One alleged violation was from April 2024 regarding the City of Gardner Ridge being named on a TCEQ, that's Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, motion to overturn regarding the water pollution abatement plan for Heidelberg Materials' future expansion site outside of our city limits. The city's name was placed on the motion to overturn at the time without the full authorization of City Council. This action put the City of Gardner Ridge in a potentially tenuous legal situation. This issue was addressed by the City Council in executive session in May of 2024 and was resolved in less than 48 hours. I consider this issue to be closed. TOMA. Every single one of us has gone through Texas Open Meetings Act training. It's literally the first thing that we did after we were elected. And when we were re-elected, we did it again. We finished that training knowing one particular thing specifically. You can talk to one council member regarding a topic of city business outside of an official meeting. But talking about that same subject with another council member outside of an open meeting is potentially a violation of TOMA. That's rule number one for all of us. TOMA goes on to cover a few different things. There are other areas of TOMA that you also must be careful with, and that is social media and what we do online. This area is purposely vague, in my opinion. How we interpret TOMA and social media can be tricky. And it is the very reason we have never come up with an official city council policy regarding social media, because of the interpretation of TOMA and how vague it can be. Are the alleged TOMA violations listed in the complaint regarding talking to more than one council member and our social media inputs valid? Perhaps. But I think committing further city resources into investigating these allegations is not warranted. Rather, I recommend that all council members go through extensive TOMA training and retraining with our city attorney after the new council is established in mid-May after the coming election. Decorum. It doesn't take any further city resources or investigating to know that issues can become contentious up here at the dais. However, that does not give any of us permission to be less than civil and respectful in our discussions with fellow council members and city staff. Our ethics ordinance reaffirms this spirit and intent. We'll remain civil and professional. We'll treat each other with respect. We'll maintain a very professional working environment with each other, with city council and city staff. The alleged complaint discusses instances in our November and December 2024 regular city council meetings where this maybe wasn't the case. Okay. Let's remember that each one of us has a different background and different experiences in their lives than the other. Everybody up here and around the table. This can lead to some very good discussions up here at the dais regarding all kinds of issues. In those discussions, we are going to disagree sometimes. In the city of Gardner Ridge, we're used to agreeing most of the time. We have a great council and a great city staff. Generally, we agree, as you've seen of all of the votes tonight. But we're going to disagree sometimes, and perhaps oftentimes, and that's okay. Disagreeing with each other is an absolute necessity in government. It is a must in a constitutional republic. As a United States citizen, as citizens of the United States, as Americans, we depend and rely upon civil discourse amongst our elected representatives. We want them to argue with each other over the issues of the day. But after that vote, we also expect them to move on and be respectful and civil with one another. Now, we may not see a lot of that civility and respect for each other on the national level these days, be that as it may. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have that expectation from each other up here. It is my recommendation, and yes, my expectation, that we treat each other with civility and respect at the dais in the city of Garden Ridge, regardless of the contentiousness of the topic at hand. Our constituents expect nothing less from their elected council members and mayor. Decorum, TOMA, process. It is my strong recommendation to you that no further city resources be expended investigating these complaints. I further recommend that we use this complaint to work to overhaul our ethics ordinance to make it a more viable document as a home rule city. However, that is up to the pleasure of the council, not the mayor. In accordance with our ethics ordinance, we can choose to move on, or we can choose to authorize further investigation. Everyone will have the opportunity to speak regarding the complaint. Let's stay neutral, let's stay civil, and we will go in numerical order, starting on my right. Kelly, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. I agree with you on all points. I don't see anything, I've read through this, I don't see anything that warrants this to be escalated.
Thank you, Kelly. Lisa?
I agree. I think you encapsulated it really well with the three sort of sections, and I think we need to do a little bit of work on our ethics ordinance, but I'm fine not going forward.
Jesse?
I'm very pleased with the way you presented yourself, with the comments you made. Very satisfied with that. I think you made it pretty clear. Yes, we started the process already I started with Natalie. We've been working revisions, and we'll discuss it in the next topic about what we go forward on that, so I'm good with that.
Thank you, Jesse. Todd?
Okay, as you talked about it, I was actually part of this discussion with the city attorney and all those things. 100% agreement with you, obviously. I was part of that decision-making process. With that, we do need to tweak our ordinance, and we do need to make sure we are not operating in anything other than the white. We can't even go into the gray. All of us on this council, I'll look left and right, we have a lot more scrutiny on us than you might care to think about. And I will point the finger at myself and go, I am guilty of straying into the gray for certain, particularly when it comes to TOMA. And we have to not do that. It's very easy to get caught up on it, particularly since some of us up here have friendships outside of working on council, and we have connections through the schools and our kids and everything else. It still makes it, we still have to be careful with it. And it's hard. I've been up here for 11 years, and it's really, really difficult because somebody's going to find something and go, oh, look, 2 other council people saw that exact same post. That could be a violation of TOMA. You can't look at that. So we just have to be careful with it. And if there's something that needs to be discussed, come up here. Years ago, when I started doing this, one of the best legislative or law briefings that we got, and it might have even been George Hyde, I think it was that long ago, was if you do cross the border over, particularly with TOMA, bring it up at the next council meeting and mea culpa, because then nobody can say anything to you about it. So, mea culpa. I'm partially guilty of being on Facebook pages that other city council members are on, and they may or may not have brought up council business, things that they're working on, and that's not the right place to do it. So I think we move forward. I think we need to tweak our ethics. It's kind of a good catch in this case to tweak our ethics ordinance, and we move forward. There's nothing, we don't need to spend any more time on it other than work on that ethics ordinance.
Thank you, Todd. Brian?
Yes, sir. I just want to thank you, Mayor, for the what you had stated, and I think this is a long time coming, looking at this, and I think it's a great idea to update our ethics ordinance to improve the processes that we have here in play. I was going to say that I think we all can learn from this, and I do know that there are some things that, for transparency purposes to our constituents and the community, that we should kind of solidify those rules on social media, because even I'm kind of confused on some of it as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting something solidified, standardized, and that obviously we hold ourselves accountable, most importantly to our constituents, to the community that we serve, because I'm here for them, and I know everybody here should be as well. So, yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, that's consensus, and we'll move on. Thank you, council. Item number 9E, ordinance number 23204-2022, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting city council conduct policies, including a code of ethics and ethical conduct rules, providing disciplinary actions for violations of this ordinance, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. Council, based on our discussion just now, and then I know you've read Natalie's updates and comments for our ethics ordinance, I will turn it over to you, Natalie. Great work so far on this, and the floor is yours, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Okay, so sort of the intention for this evening is to talk about kind of the summary of what I provided, or Nancy provided you in the email about this, and kind of walk through some of the comments and particular points. But to get, pretty solid direction so that Jesse and I can collaborate and have a good kind of understanding and path forward of exactly what kinds of items you want to have revised, or just kind of general principles of revision you'd like to have included or accounted for as we move through this process. It's probably going to take a little bit of time, and it might take us a couple of times, discussing it like we're going to this evening. But I think that we are in a really good spot to be able to update this in a way that really works for the city and makes everything really clear, and makes everybody feel like their concerns can be heard, but that whomever may be the subject of any kind of complaint feels that they are a part of that process and not excluded. So first and foremost, my first comment is that the consequences in this ordinance are pretty much what you can do at this level. Anything further would be charter revisions, and those can be advisable or unadvisable. Typically unadvisable how they end up shaking out, just because, when you're elected, you're voted in. And as a charter, citizens do have the ability for recall. So if they're really, really incensed about something, they can do the recall process. That's not to say that, you don't add a charter provision, because charters are voted by citizens. So if in fact people really love some kind of addition to the charter for a higher level of consequence, the citizens can do that. But it can be kind of an interesting area, and one that you should spend a lot of time thinking about prior to kind of pushing it forward. So I did want to just call that out as to kind of set our stage of what consequences can be accounted for when we're thinking about our revisions. So I'm going to move to the front of the exhibit. Some of the main revisions that I did in this round are I cut all the provisions that are covered in the charter that I found. I might see a one or two as I go back through, or that I just happen to miss. But these main ones are going to be covered in your charter, and so I did remove those. And then main edit I've done is I updated city administrator to city manager throughout. I think I did catch all those references. So the bulk of my comments relate to the provisions that relate to decorum and process. Most typically, those are going to be sort of their own ordinance, as they can be a strange thing to be in an ethics ordinance, because respect for process isn't necessarily an ethical consideration. It's just the procedures that you have agreed upon for making your city run. And decorum is kind of a nebulous one as well, because, for example, bear with me, if I'm mean to Mayor, the only person that's really going to be able to determine whether I was mean to Mayor is Mayor. because we have different understandings of what our thresholds are. As Mayor mentioned, we all have different experiences, and so that can be a strange spot to be in an ethics ordinance, because that is just more appropriately sorted with internal rulemaking. So, for example, we could cut process and decorum out of the ethics ordinance, dump it into its own ordinance, clean it up, revise it, and then if and when issues of violation of that ordinance come up, we can have some kind of process to bring it to council, and council be an internal kind of decision maker on that, if it even rises to the level of something like that. More likely than not, it's a conversation of, hey, remember, this is the process, or individual conversations between people that felt they didn't like how an interaction shook out. So that's going to be my first recommendation as it relates to this ordinance, is that take all of the process and decorum provisions, hold them out of ethics, and put them in a separate ordinance that has kind of separate internal self-policing, more or less, and determine from there what is the appropriate way to handle those. So then we get to, there are some like miscellaneous notes in the ordinance about ones that are very clearly ethics provisions and that make sense in the ethics ordinance. But I'm going to skip to section 6. So as I mentioned, several of the provisions in here would be moved with some of the higher sections into its ordinance. But let's go to process. So we're at 6, and that's going to start, let's see, here's somewhere. 623. Or actually, I'll jump up and go to 622. So right now, any suspected violations must be reported to the mayor. And if violation by the mayor to mayor pro tem. And so that's kind of really open. Literally anyone can make a complaint about any one thing. And so that's something that if council feels there may be an appropriate kind of establishment of process for collection of violation, I think that we could maybe clean that up if everyone felt strongly enough about it, about, you know, if you want to have some kind of vetting process, maybe have it to city manager, since city managers here day-to-day running administration, and then kind of step through collection of the process then. So then we go to 623. My biggest thing is that when I was reading through this at first, is that inquiry and investigation, to me, aren't clear what the difference is. To me, it almost feels that inquiry and investigation are used almost interchangeably, and not as precisely as I think it could be defined. So I think an inquiry could be defined to be sort of the first step of like fact gathering, whereas the investigation is going to be a larger scale investigation as authorized by council. So we kind of have a two-step process that encapsulates fact-finding, and that it encapsulates, you know, applying the facts to the circumstances and doing further investigation that is of larger resource use. So that's my first sort of suggestion, is anything that could be confused or not super clear, especially as it relates to definitions, can be a good way to revise. From there, I think that if we took the process and kind of streamlined it, made it sort of numbers, check boxes, so this is our first step, okay, check. This is our second step, okay, check. Because I think that an issue, and Todd or Mayor, please correct me if y'all had different feelings about it, is that the process felt kind of nebulous as we were talking about it, right? And I think that, and that it took some discussion to really hammer down what the process as the ordinance contemplates it to be. And so I think that it could really benefit from some cleanup of what does that process look like, and it be a checkbox. I'm a big fan of lists. And so if we can have very simple, boiled down statements, this is first step, okay, check. This is second step, okay, check. And then move through each of those items, I think it'll be much more clear, not only to whomever may be processing it, but also to whomever may be on the receiving end of the complaint, so they can follow and track the process much more easily than having to try and discern themselves. And so that's going to be where the bulk of my dialogue with y'all would be, is that what is sort of y'all's vision as to what that process looks like? What points are confusing to you? What points do you think could be sharpened? And then sort of go from there and try and distill that process down so that we can have a smooth, clean process that everybody feels included and accounted for in.
Natalie, that was very well stated. Thank you so much. Before we have the discussions, because you are our expert on this, what is your recommendation for council to proceed forward with amending this ordinance? How would you like us to discuss and give you permission to continue amending it as you've discussed?
Yeah, so my first request would be if we could move decorum and process out of ethics. I think that that would be more appropriate, and we can have that contemplated and not run two ordinances at the same time, because that can be confusing, but start working on understanding that decorum and process are going to be in another spot. And before we formally re-adopt the ethics, make sure we kind of have the decorum ready to go so that we have something in place so that there's some kind of continuity in that process. So that would be my first request. And then my second is to just be really thoughtful about, if you were in this circumstance, how would you like this process to look like? And then just steps, right? Think about it in steps. And if I can have direction in that way and that I can make it very checklists, I think that would make it much easier for myself as I'm working through this to update. And then, like I said, to be really clear for everybody. Did that answer your question, Mayor?
It did very much, thank you. And before we start having the discussion with council, it would be my hope that as the current council and everybody in their seats where they're at right now, I would like to get this process done prior to, or completed by May's meeting, so that we conclude this part of our business as an intact council, and then we will have 2 new council members and someone else sitting in this chair. So I would like to set the goal for us as a council to have this done so our business is complete and not turn it over to a new council. And I think that that's reasonable. Can we make that timeline?
Yeah, I think so, yes, sir.
Okay, so I will turn it over to council now for discussion. We'll start on the left. Brian, and how we doing on time? Because Brian has to go to work tonight.
Got it.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Jesse and Natalie for working on this, and I was going to ask, is this something I think that we are going to continue to have just maybe one councilman and city attorney working on it, or was it something that the council was going to provide input? I didn't know where we were at on that. So just to kind of, I guess to expedite it as well, to get it to where we needed to have it done by May. I didn't know what the route was going to be on that, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the vision has been that myself, Jesse, and Nancy work on it, and then Ryan, once we transition over, we can work on that. But I have every intention to bring this back as many times as I can, so the April meeting really, for final discussion, so that we can have just, sort of cleanup or clarity points for that. So I definitely want council to be involved, but just maintaining that timeline.
Okay.
So more than anything, it'll be Jesse, myself, and city manager, either Nancy or Ryan.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Todd?
Completely agree on the split. Because they were all it was kind of nebulous, you know, which is which. And I also completely agree with, well, just because somebody's grumping at me doesn't mean I'm offended by it. And I guess I had to put something in there that says that the person getting grumped at is the one that has to say they were, I can't even think of the terminology here. I mean, I've got a really thick skin as a retired military officer and aviator. It's kind of like, yeah, go ahead, grump at me. You done now? Okay, we're good. Yeah, so let's do the split. Let's try to get it done before the May timeframe. This isn't something we need to leave out there for the next group of people. We need to clean this thing up. And yeah, we talked a lot when we had that meeting, so I'll quit now.
Great.
No, thank you, Natalie, for what you've done so far. You know, we have identified that the ordinance that we had was pre-home rule, and we needed to fix it with home rule, and that's what she's doing now, so I appreciate all the, you know, cleaning it up, you know,
Yeah,
type thing.
absolutely. Thank you, Jesse.
And
Lisa?
I guess I'm a little confused on what we're trying to achieve tonight. Are we going into the discussion?
Yeah, we can go into the
Okay.
discussion. So
'Cause I'll
we
tell you-
can solicit some feedback.
Okay.
Any and all feedback anybody has, so if we need to go back around and get specific feedback, please.
I'll tell you operator error on my part possibly. When I pulled this up, and Jesse and I did talk about this, I wasn't able to see the comments, right? So I didn't know what exactly I was supposed to be looking at. So I did it.
I had to make it to a PDF file so I could read it.
Okay, so I didn't
Oh,
see the
strange.
comments, so I was coming
Well,
in
I
here
couldn't
not
either.
knowing, and you know I'm kind of a researchaholic, and I like to be
Yeah.
prepared, I just didn't know, and I didn't
Yeah.
have time to,
I
you know, try to
realize-
compare what you took out or didn't take out.
Sure.
So, just heads up on that, so I
Okay.
don't,
Got it.
Ended up making it a PDF file, that's when I was
Okay,
able
so-
to read, just
yeah.
like was shown right here for some reason, but.
right,
Yeah.
right, so
Yeah.
when I pulled
So-
it up, I wasn't
but
sure
I
what
just happened
the
to do it that
focus
way.
was
I
gonna
can
be.
convert to PDF next time,
Okay.
and that way I can make sure that we shortcut that
Okay.
and don't have that issue again. And I'll make sure to do that on all things coming from me in the future with comments, just to make sure that we shortcut that. And if there is anything that needs to be in Word for like commenting, I'll do that with city manager.
Okay, that'd be terrific. I do have a couple comments, though, because I've looked at, I've had, citizens ask me how to submit a complaint before, and I have seen other cities have an online form, that prescribes what information needs to be submitted and, tells the citizen what process is going to be followed. Is something like that, reasonable? I mean,
Yeah, I think we could certainly put together a form. And so that's for the second part of that. I think that that's where that can be really important to kind of streamline the language of the ordinance itself so that anybody who is curious can read it. I know
Right.
sometimes ordinances and like statutes can get kind of legal jargony, and it's that only attorneys or sometimes not all attorneys can read it, right? And so my goal is always to make it as user-friendly and accessible as possible. So the vision, or my vision, is to make it so that all of that part's addressed in the actual text of the ordinance, but we can certainly do a form and point people or cross-reference or anything that, is deemed appropriate. Yeah.
I agree 100% that we set the foundation for the up-and-coming council. With that in mind, I know some of us didn't get this part, this PDF, so I'm glad you brought that, because I didn't see this on my end. And with that in mind, as much as I want to hurry this and get it incorporated before the new council comes on and new mayor, but I think, is it something where you can have an email and we have our responses back to you by, Monday, or versus all of it hashing it out all here? Because, we're some of us are disadvantaged that didn't have a chance to see that.
Sure. So I probably not. I think that could be a slippery slope if we're engaging in discussion and dialogue, even if it's just individually with me. So I would say probably not for that, because I can't take direction from one single council person except when they're kind of appointed as an authorized by the council to provide direction. So I don't know that I would be comfortable with advising that
May I
just myself to
suggest
solicit feedback.
a little bit different path?
Sure.
So because some of us didn't actually get to read all your comments,
Mm-hmm.
rather than taking the time tonight to go through all those, you've already addressed them. Perhaps it sounds like we're kind of under consensus to take decorum and the process out. I like the checklist part of it, right? As a
Yeah.
pilot, I'm like, checklist, I can follow that, right?
Yeah.
And it would simplify it, because that discussion the five of us had, we were like, how do we do this? So what's the best process? So I think it sounds like we're all in consensus to take her recommendations of taking the decorum and process part out of
Yeah.
it.
Love the splitting checklist, love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the rest of, a lot of her comments are taking out city administrator, putting in manager and whatnot, and cleaning up some things. So perhaps we can say, give you consensus to incorporate those changes, then continue to work with Jesse and Nancy and Ryan as he comes on board to continue to update the process. And then what we can do is all of us can talk to and email or have discussions with Nancy to help to incorporate, or at least have those discussions, and then perhaps incorporate those. So we're not talking right to Jesse, and we're talking right to the city manager, or talking directly to you, and you can help incorporate that. The onus is ultimately on you to help us with this process.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's why you get paid the big attorney bucks, right?
Yeah.
So, council, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Please?
And for Kelly and Lisa, most of my comments were pretty quick, and I went over the ones that had the in-depth comments. So you didn't miss, well, while you didn't have the privilege of looking at the comments, you didn't miss a whole lot, I do promise that. It was, many of the thoughts were kind of stream of conscience as I was going through it, and just some of the ones that are very typically ethics, just keep, you know, or same comment as above, this could be moved. So it wasn't terribly interesting. I regret to inform you.
Yeah, basically, just like you said, it was things that she thinks that was in the charter, she just removed. That's basically it. And then what we keep and she would like to keep, and then separate the process into quorum. So that's kind of a summary right there, it's real quick.
Yes, and so really, it is what it sounds like is everybody's on, so we're on the same page of splitting, and then we want a streamlined process. So I think that unless anybody has real particulars that they kind of want to see incorporated in streamlined process or revised, I think that I have sufficient feedback to get that going and be able to bring you back something that accomplishes those requests.
I think that sounds like a great plan. Council, thumbs up, everybody good? Todd? Natalie, are you good?
Yeah, no, I'm great.
Nancy, are you good? Yeah. Ryan, thumbs up? I got a thumbs up. Okay,
Okay, great, thank you.
thank you so much. Well done, Natalie, and we'll see you for executive session, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that completes item number 9. We're on to item number 10 for city council projects. I know we've got some great things to talk about, but because Brian has to leave pretty quick, if we can do the highlights for everything, that'd be cool. So, Lisa, you're on for APO impacting Garden Ridge. I know you got a lot of great updates.
Making great progress in Trophy Oaks. I've been working with them for about a month over there. Very quickly put together a meeting with Jill Shackelford for last Friday. It kind of came together real fast. On that agenda was meeting with the property owners on Wild Wind that back up to Lion Cave. We were able to take Jill up to that plateau to look into the actual mine and got my first real.
I got to ask, what did Jill say when she saw that?
Well, she was shocked it was right there, for sure. And then she was shocked that those berms were in people's backyards. And she said continuously, they can do better. You know, they can be better neighbors. But she pointed out things that I would never, I keep saying this, I know I can see the problems, but not the solutions. She pointed out things that I wouldn't think of, and how this equipment works or that equipment works. Certainly a good example of that is, you know, in the rock crushing machines, they could choose to put a rubber mat at the bottom, so you're not having the sound of rock on tin, right? You're having rock on rubber, and that's not expensive to do, and it cuts down on back annoyance, that kind of noise.
I hear that all the way in my house.
Yeah, your house. So there's little things, right? So she was able to just look into that pit, say, okay, they've got this equipment, that equipment, they're using that equipment. What kind of water trucks do they have out there? They should have more water trucks. So, I mean, just the initial glance went really well. Was pleased with her observations. Then we went and again we looked down at the berms. They're terrible. She has some ideas there. But a lot of this is going to have to be accomplished between her and I think Jim Sturch will be our great contact over there because he's got a relationship with Lion Cave Materials. That's pretty good. Then we met Jonelle and Jerry Barucki for lunch, both members of the Quarry Commission, and talked to them, about some of the things that were in the blasting ordinance. They brought Jill, up to speed on how this all came about and how the changes in the ordinance came about. There are some things that the ordinance we need to take a better look at that maybe we are not following as we should to protect ourselves. So we discussed that, and then we went over to Trophy Oaks, to the Baldwin's house. And I had been over there earlier in the week. I was there Monday or Tuesday, and we knew that there was a blast scheduled for Friday, which is kind of why we rushed Jill to get here on Friday. So we were there for the blast earlier in the week. The plant manager was there, as well as a rep from Vibertech. The Vibertech rep was not there on Friday, but these blasts are significant. And, it breaks my heart to talk to the neighbors there, in particular, the ones that have PTSD that are suffering, and they're blasting 3 or 4 times a week, and they're significant blasts. So Jill was able to have some conversations with the plant manager, ask some questions. I would never know how to ask, how many holes in this blast, 52 shot blast, all these kinds of things. And we've already got a big win under our belt. When I started working on this with Mr. Baldwin and Mike Tillema, they were talking about the beepers, right? The backup alarms all day long, not being able to use their backyards because of these alarms. And I said, well, Robin, it has to be voluntary, but we can ask them, to change out those alarms. And Mike Sally, the plant manager, has committed to changing all of those alarms out to white noise alarms, white noise backup alarms. So, I mean, that is better than me all night long. And they brought up other things that Mike sometimes is not aware of. There are some lights shining in their backyard. They're doing some loading on the weekends and at night. There's ways that they can address that. Jill just had all sorts of ideas. And I think he was a little surprised that she was there. I don't even have a way to talk to him. I wasn't sure if he was going to be there, wasn't sure if the blast was going to happen, and my obligation is to the city, not to Heidelberg, so I didn't feel like I needed to give them a heads up. And so it went really well. I mean, there's solutions. There really are. Again, their participation is going to be voluntary, but, it's Jill's opinion that they will want to participate in that manner. She also went on and had a meeting. It's related. She was meeting with David Perkins, who's the VP of Sustainability and Environmental Management. His title's changed a bunch of times since I've been watching him. But she was meeting him about the Great Springs project because Great Springs is looking at a trail through part of the quarry expansion. And she went on and had a meeting after that with Perkins and LB. And just laid out, hey, this is what's going on in Garden Ridge. These people, are upset. I think we've got some solutions here. They were very, very receptive. Jill said she got a thank you just even today from David Perkins that she has reached out. They're comfortable with Jill. Jill's not in there. Jill understands the business, right? Jill's not trying to shut them down. Jill says if it's a bad quarry, I'll shut them down, right? And we all have to be doing the right thing. But she believes that we can find that balance and work with them, and they are very receptive to it. So big win there. I'm super excited that they've got some peace over there. I mean, they've already started with the backup alarms, so it's more peaceful. So that's a win. One of the other things we talked about too, and I talked about this, I think Nancy and I talked about this at one point many moons ago, about the text messaging, right? She said this is you don't get text message alerts, the whole city doesn't get text message alerts, and I said, no. I mean, the guys over there in that cul-de-sac, Wall Lane, they all are signed up for text message alert, and it certainly has helped some of those combat veterans, anticipate when that blast is coming, and it's less impactful with the PTSD. So she said every quarry that I know has those text alerts. So that's something else we should talk to them about. I mean, it's voluntary. Citizens can opt in or not. That might help with the Facebook pages. Was that a blast? Every time, everybody's posting, was that a blast? That was a big one. That was a blast. That was a blast. They would know, yes, that was a blast. Don't be concerned. This is what that was. So, I mean, I think there are some really great things that we can get done. I started talking about putting this advisory council together. Again, a long way to go, but Heidelberg's really willing to participate. And Jill was certainly impressed with some of the neighbors that she met that are very knowledgeable and involved, and we'll work on putting that together. Council will eventually vote on that, but it went really well. I'm super pleased. Had some of those neighbors say for the first time they felt hopeful, so that was awesome.
Great work. Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Outstanding. I don't have anything for mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts. Do you?
Just quickly, that following up on that Valero gas station or proposed Valero gas station on 3009, last we left off, they had received a unfavorable review from TCEQ, notice of deficiencies on their application. They just responded to that in March. So that, I mean, that's still pending out there in March. Then TCEQ has to respond to that. The other thing I would note is that Mark White, who District 10 in San Antonio, we've been working with on ETJ issues, is up for election, and there's 5 people running for District 10. So you never know. But that's better than the 27 that are running for mayor. So 27 running for mayor.
Wow.
Right. So, right. So that's it on that one.
Wow. Economic development, I'll give it to Kelly to start.
Yeah, I'll make this short and sweet. We've had some, we made some, obviously when I was in Dallas, I made some great contacts. We've actually had a couple meetings with some of those individuals and companies already, anywhere from architects to developers to retail companies. So a lot of great things, a lot of movement right now, and that's all I really have. I can't go any further now on some of these, so. You have anything to add?
Can we go any further without naming names? Can we say that we met with a national retailer that's interested in the area? I think we can say that. Right, not naming any names, but we did meet with a, right, gotcha. We did meet with a national retailer that we think will be a good fit. They were very easy to work with. They had some great ideas, good feedback. So, one in the door, we just keep talking and see if it works for Garden Ridge and it works for them. So I think that was super exciting for Nancy, Kelly, and I. We all kind of sat back and we're like, hey, that we're going places. The survey as well. We've got a survey out on the Facebook pages, asking citizens, what's on their wish list as far as retail goes, what restaurants, what stores, all of those kinds of things. And we've got 111 responses so far. Is that the last count?
111, yeah.
111. So yeah, things are cooking. It's great. So excited.
Okay, thank you both. That concludes item number 10. On to item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Anybody have anything they want to see on April's agenda?
I have several. I'd like to discuss the next steps concerning the Natural Features Overlay District that when we updated Ordinance 13. Also like to have a discussion on trash collection frequency. I have a lot of interest in residents on that. And also the bulk brush dumpster scheduling for future, so.
I have one as well. I'd like to bring back reserve and reserve policies.
Okay, anybody else? We good? Got to get Brian out here. Okay, closing that out. On to item number 12, citizen comment period. You don't have to have signed up to come speak. Everybody that's present knows the drill. And you have 2 minutes. We're listening, but we can't comment. Sharon? Rod? Dr. Miller?
Talked him into it.
It's always good to see you. It's been a while. It's great to see you, Rod. Sir, the floor is yours.
Remember how to, oh, look at that. Rod Chamberlain, 8807 Cherokee Path in Garden Ridge, Texas. There's going to be a change in the guard, and I just want you to know personally, I appreciate everything that all of you have done, and those of you that are possibly not here 2 months from now, thank you very much for everything that you've done. It's been a pleasure working with you the time that I spent on the Park Committee and what you've done within the city. Thank you. And Nancy, best of wishes to you. Okay.
Thank you, Rod. The pleasure's ours. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close out item number 12 on to item number 13. I'll start on my right of all the things we have listed. Kelly.
Tri-County Chamber of Commerce luncheon, March 11th at 11:30 a.m. in Olympia Hills. Mixer to be announced, just finalizing some plans. That'll be towards the end of the month. April 16th is the annual golf tournament at TPC. And any and all are welcome to buy a team. So.
That's pretty cool. It's at TPC. Maybe you and I should have a team this time.
I know, it's a great course, and it's a lot of fun.
I'll just drive the
It's
cart.
a lot of fun.
Awesome.
You can't just play on that course. I mean,
They're not going to let me play on that course. Awesome. Lisa?
Just a reminder that the Garden Ridge Lions Club is having their fish fry on March 22nd. They're putting out lots of information on social media, so keep an eye out for it.
Awesome. Jesse?
100 Club, they will host their annual dinner on Tuesday, April the 8th. More information, go to the 100 Club County webpage. Everything's there to sign up. Also, on April 18th, that's Good Friday, McDonald's and 100 Club team up, and the McDonald's will provide or give a percentage of the sales from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the 9 McDonald's in Comal County. Myself and others from Garden Ridge will be at the McDonald's on I-35 here at 1103. Okay, also on Garden Ridge Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, I'm sad to announce that there will not be a car show in 2025. John Bursack, who shared the last 3 years, is moving on to other exciting jobs. He's taken up acting.
What?
Yep. Wow. So he's not going to be available to do what he's done in the past, so we couldn't find another person to share it, to take the lead. Our bylaws require they got to be a member to do it. So anyway, we're changing directions, and I'm happy to announce that we've had a committee meeting 2 weeks ago, and to start planning for our first annual casino night. It'll be October 18th, and more detail, working on details right now, but save the date for this coming year.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. Big change.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. We need to open up item 11 and put that on the future agendas. Todd?
I don't have anything to report.
No. That should go on the agenda.
Been a slow month.
Yeah. Brian?
I concur with Todd, sir. I have nothing to report today.
Crazy. I got a couple things. Hey, we're actually going to have a Families of Garden Ridge Adopt a Highway pickup on the 12th of April, which is Earth Day. So, and it's the 12th, right? It's Saturday the 12th, whatever day that is. So.
My calendar says 22nd is Earth Day.
Ah.
12th is Passover begins at sundown, full moon on April 12th. That's what I found on my calendar.
Okay, I missed, yep, no, I goofed that up. Well, it's still going to be the 12th of April, and,
It's for Earth Day, you're prepping.
yeah, it's prepping for Earth Day. I think it coincides with the national, or the Texas Trash Off Day. So more to follow on that. I'm going to work with Davenport High School DECA to coordinate, because they own 3009 in front of us. So coordinate with them to do a really big pickup. And as the former Troop 828 Commandant, I know, but maybe we can get the scouts out there again.
I'll ask.
Okay, cool. And while we're on that note, I want to throw a public thanks out to Miss Linda Potts, who I have seen, she had to have picked up Door Lane at some point, because I drove by one day going, oof, I need to get out there. The next day, it was cleaned up. That's got to be, Rod, can you confirm, was that Linda? And then I have seen Linda Potts picking up Bat Cave Road 3 times in the last month. She's amazing. She's a stalwart. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, she's awesome. So thanks, Linda. And that was me honking at you. Let's see, Northeast Partnership. It's exciting stuff. I got 3 luncheons left. As the chair, and I'd love to have everybody there. I'd love to have the whole council there. It'd be great. So, and Nancy will be at this next one, and Ryan will be at this next one. Yes? Okay, thumbs up. And maybe Jacqueline. Yes? Yay, thumbs up. Okay, good. What's that? Oh, yeah. We got door prizes in March. And then, forgot, we're hosting, it's our dinner night in March, March 26th? Mayor's dinner. So, council, come on in. So Caparelli's, we're going to get that again. I know we've coordinated that, right, Cindy? Yeah, awesome, all right. So March, it's Earth Day. It is March 26th. Stand by, let me get my calendar. Yes, it's the 4th Wednesday, March 26th. So at 6:30, right here. And Ryan, giddy up for that. That's your first one. All right, I think that's it. That's all I got. All right, moving on to item number 14, executive session. We do have 2 items tonight specifically. The city council will recess its open meeting and reconvene in closed session. 14A, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0711, pending or contemplated litigation, and 551.0712, consultation with city attorney on the following items. 14A1, petition for declaratory judgment, Eric Fisher versus City of Garden Ridge, cause number Charlie 2024-1164 Bravo. 14A2, notice of claim pursuant to Texas Tort Claims Act, Craig Dillard versus City of Garden Ridge, cause number Charlie 2024-1193 Echo. And finally, 14A3, notice of claim letter for payment of invoice We Love Trees. We will go into recess here at 8:28 in open session. And can you guys do 10 minutes, 8:38 behind us? More than enough. And all right, welcome back. We will reconvene in open session at 9:12 p.m. Open item number 15, business items. The city council will reconvene in a regular session upon conclusion of the executive session and may recall any item posted for executive session for action as necessary. Council? Lisa?
Move to approve settlement of Eric Fisher versus City of Garden Ridge, cause number C20241164B, with conditions and adjustments discussed with city attorneys.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Move to approve settlement with We Love Trees.
We have a motion to approve the settlement with We Love Trees. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
A motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 16, adjournment. There being no further business, the City Council regular meeting for March is adjourned at 9:14 p.m. Thanking you, Gardner Ridge. Great job tonight, council and city staff. Happy St. Patrick's Day. See you First Friday.